Those of y'all that want to join this meeting, we'll get it started here. Marie, would you lead us in a moment of silence, followed by the serenity prayer? God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is the desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution. Does not wish to engage in any controversy. Neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. My name is Jim Livingston, and I'm an alcoholic. Hi, everybody. And it's strictly through the grace of God that I came to know through this program that I haven't had a drink today or since August 13th, 1973. And I'm truly grateful for that. Now, this meeting is starting now, and we'd like to hold it down to about 1 hour and 15 minutes. So I know that some of us get tired of sitting, and we've sat down for an hour, hour and a half previously. So the speakers keep this in mind as I call upon you. Now, the first speaker tonight is a gentleman that I met over here last year, who was not a speaker, but served as a chairman. And he made a lot of fun about us Cajuns and all this, but what he is a South Alabama redneck. So, without further ado, I'd like to call on Bill M. from Foley, Alabama.
Thank you, Jim. I am Bill McKay, and I am from Foley, Alabama.
Hi, Bill.
And I'm glad to be here. And you know, the speaker we just heard talked about the love of a convention in Panama City. And I've been to that convention, and I've been here. And I know the love here. Because the people over here are very dear to me. And I'm about half certified redneck. The one thing that we have in common is the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. And for this, I'm grateful. And the speaker tonight touched on some things that are very close to me and that I think were vital in helping me to what amount of sobriety I have today. I found Alcoholics Anonymous in May of 1975, and my sobriety date is September 1976. So, from the time I started to attempt to get sober until I got to AA, previous to my coming to AA, I tried it on my own several times, and I could identify with that 3 month and that 4 months time of dryness, white knuckle sobriety. We refer to it in AA as white knuckle. And the struggle I had after I came to AA, and I can identify with this merry-go-round called denial, this denying that I was alcoholic. And this is the alcoholic. He completely denies when all the symptoms are laid before him that he is alcoholic and that he can't be different and drink. And I couldn't be different and drink. I was the same alcoholic. And I think today many things contributed to my understanding of the program as I do today. And I think the biggest thing there was sponsorship. I was very fortunate. I had about 6 sponsors. I fired 2 of them. A couple of them moved out of town. and one of them refused to be fired and refused to quit. And I think this was necessary for me. I had to find a sponsor that told me what to do. It told me how he had gotten sober and what he did, and that I must do the same thing. And the simplicity of this program was hard for me to accept. It had to be some secret that y'all were keeping from me. And until I was able to sit down with a sponsor, and until I was readily able to take the third step allowed with that sponsor, until I was willing to sit down with that sponsor and write an inventory, an honest, moral inventory, with his help, and then a fifth step. And of course, when I took my fifth step with him, he took his fifth step with me. And this made a bond between us, and I liked what the speaker tonight said about a running mate. I think you need a sponsor that you can be with every day. I had to have one that I could see at least every day I call on the phone. And I think that that sponsor needs to be used sometimes as much as we need to use him. Because I know today I'm fortunate enough to sponsor a couple of people that live close by. And now they come by my house, or I go by their house. And I need them as much as they need me. They help me better understand this program, and better to understand that we must continue to make progress in this program and continue to take these steps and to work on them. I had one sponsor in Memphis. I said, "What do you do when somebody gets drunk?" He said, "Well, the first thing I do is ask them what step they're working on." And of course, you know the answer. If I'm working on a step of this program, whether it's step 8, trying to become willing to make amends, or step 9, making those amends, I'm not going to be drinking. And if I'm working on step 1 and fully convinced that I'm alcoholic, I'm not going to be drinking. So I must stay active in this program. And I think activity in service keeps us active in all the other parts of the program. Keeps us active in 12-step work. If we're in service, we're continually doing 12-step work. If we're GSR, or public information, or institution committee, any of those committees, we're going to be doing 12-step work. And you know, the book says that when everything else fails, active work with alcoholics will keep us sober. And it does. It has for me. I think that once we come into this program that we need sponsorship in service. I think that all GSRs should help sponsor other people to become GSRs. Rotation in office is very important in AA. Participation in the group is very important. Because I received a legacy from every alcoholic that went before me. And I must pass this on if I'm going to keep it. Just being sober, as the book said, is not enough. AA is work, but it's a loving work. It's something that is rewarded to us 100,000 times more than what we put into it. And for me, I found that the more I do, the more I get. And I can understand what the speaker tonight said about being a running alcoholic. If you have an institution meeting on Saturday at the prison, an eating meeting that your group is putting on that Saturday night, and a breakfast of GSRs on Sunday morning, and then 3 or 4 meetings a week, you're going to be a running alcoholic. But you're running sober. And a lot of this activity in AA keeps me sober. It keeps me with the program and with other alcoholics that are practicing these principles in all their affairs. And anonymity to me is the spiritual foundation of this program. My personal anonymity doesn't mean much because everybody I knew and everybody that knew me knew I was a drunk. So I certainly have nothing to hide there. if I'm to be of maximum service in my community, then the doctors need to know that I'm an alcoholic. The ministers need to know I'm an alcoholic. And they need to know that the people in my group are willing to go and help people that need AA at that time. So the anonymity to me is that we don't talk about where we've been or what we've done, but we don't mind talking about what we did while we were drinking or what we're doing to stay sober. But our service work and our activity in AA should remain anonymous, because I'm an alcoholic, and I receive my sobriety one day at a time, contingent upon my spiritual condition, and for that I'm grateful. And I sure am glad to be here tonight, and y'all are a wonderful group of people, and I love you. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Bill. It's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you. Now, this next speaker is a lady from Alabama also, and I asked her a few minutes ago if she would be our second speaker, and she told me that her sponsor told her to just sit and listen. And I asked her how long she'd been sitting and listening, and she said 9 years. So I think it's time for her to talk a little bit. So, Marie, will you come up, please?
Better be careful what you say around here. You'll find it repeated over the mic. I am Marie, and I am a most grateful recovering alcoholic. Hi. It is beautiful for me to be here tonight. It's beautiful for me to be most anywhere in the world tonight, knowing where I am, feeling as good as I do and being sober. I think the reason Lake Charles is so special to me is that this is where I came into AA 9 years ago. I've seen so many people tonight that was here when I got here, and I think that I fully used them all. I think I tried all of their patients. Was talking to one of the men tonight earlier. The first meeting I remember being in with him was on resentments. And he was very, very full of resentments that night. And I sat there and I remember thinking, my God, what are they making such a big deal about resentments for? I don't resent anybody. That night I didn't think I did. I have come to know in these years in AA, no, I didn't resent anybody. It was nothing quite that simple. I quite simply hated me and everybody else. I didn't know of another way to live than this. When I guess I could say I was brought up in the proverbial religious household, except it was just Mama that was religious, and Dad was town drunk. Very early on, I learned the fight between good and bad, and this was to follow me for a great many years, you know. And it seems like all my life, looking back, that this was what went on in my life, good and bad. I could quite plainly see that the bad was triumphing. Mother did the work, Daddy did the drinking, but he was the one to be looked up to. I could identify so well with Olga when she spoke, because I had this feeling of being so terribly unloved. And for a lot of years, even a lot of the years after I came to AA, my family were to receive the blame for my drinking because they had not loved me. Today I feel that they love me as well as they could in their way. I assume they did the best they could with what they had to do. I am an alcoholic because I too drank alcohol. I don't think that I drank too much. I think I drank right up to the exact amount to get me where I am today. And I like where I am today. I no longer have the loneliness. I have you beautiful people here. And you know, we always say that wherever we speak in AA. You people here, meaning AA's all over. But I literally mean that tonight. You people here in Lake Charles, in the Lake Charles group, gave me such a beautiful start. I went back to Alabama, and it was hard going back over there. It was different. AA, the program, is always alike. People are different because they're different people. I finally found a very kind, wise person over there that said I had just been weaned from the breast milk, but the nourishment was there. If I wanted it, I could get it, to buckle down and get it. And I, too, think that I knew that my drinking days were over then. I hope that they are over. They have been for this length of time. I did find the nourishment there that I needed. I found the love that I needed. I found the quieting of the fears that I needed. I no longer have to be afraid there or here or anywhere that I go. I suppose today that the key word to my life now is to be comfortable with me and with the people that I'm with. For so many, many years, I didn't belong anywhere. There was no place for me. I didn't fit in. I ran with the older crowd, too. I wanted to do the things they did. I wanted to be grown. I wanted to be all these things, and when I got these things and got this way, it was not what I wanted. It was a miserable existence. I don't know. I suppose, and I said the other night, that if I had just gotten to AA earlier, but really I believe I got here at the right time, because God, as I have come to know Him and understand Him today, does the right thing at the right time for me, if I will get out of His way and let Him do what He wants to do. He will answer my prayers and give me whatever is good for me. And this is something that was hard for me to come by. Because when I first came here to Lake Charles, I thought it was a beautiful program. And I was going to follow it with the exception of the third step. After about a month, I had to go back out and do a little more research. I researched that pretty thoroughly. Wound up with a week's case of DTs in a very lonely room by myself. And I got over that, and when I got over that, or while I was getting over it, I became willing to take that third step. At that time, and this was the first time in 22 years that I had called on God for anything, I wanted Him to leave me alone, and I was quite content to leave Him alone. But when I called on Him then, the DTs left, I was able to sleep, I was able to rest. I was given my miracle then, and it was a miracle, because I found a happiness then that I had never known before in my life. I found a love in this fellowship that I had never known before. I found a reason to stay sober. It seems an awful little to say, well, you know, if I just stay sober, I can go down at that club and be with those people. But I had gotten this lonely. The people in the bars, they are there when you want to drink, but when you're sick, they just are not there for some reason or other. Not very good friends. I've surrounded myself today with the kind of friends that are there when I need them. I have also become a member of Al-Anon. I married an alcoholic man. He is not drinking. I also have an 83-year-old mother who does not drink, who has never drank. But this Al-Anon program just works beautifully in getting along with her. Now, I don't know Somebody just kind of gave me a little nudge and said, it could be that you've had a change of attitude. Would you believe that? Whatever it is, we have a pretty peaceful household these days. I can do what I want to. I can be what I want to be today through the grace of God and the love of the people in this beautiful program. It is a way of life with me and a way that I try to follow every day of my life. I've not found any other way. I've not found any other fellowship, organization, institution, nothing anywhere that gives me the things that I want, the way that I want to live. And today there is no more self-loathing. I know now that I didn't have to get good, that I wasn't all that bad. I was sick. I was very, very sick. I was deathly sick. I needed to get well. And I began to get well with this program. And I got a little better. The more meetings I went to, the more of the service work I tried to do, the more I tried to apply this, I think saner I got. And finally, after a long time, there started to come a little serenity, a little peace of mind. It is a beautiful life for me. About the only thing I'm really serious about today is my AA program. I can laugh at everything else in the world. Whether it goes wrong or right doesn't make a great deal of difference. I can take it. But I am very, very serious about my AA program. It is my life. It is the only way that I want to live, and I do believe for an alcoholic, it is the only way that I can live and live successfully. They say you can't drink successfully if you're an alcoholic. I disagree with that. The last 6 months of my drinking, I drank to get drunk. I was successful. I got very drunk. I don't have to do that today. I have no desire to drink today. And that is the most beautiful part of it, because within myself, I do not have the strength to do what it takes to stay sober. The people in this program, my program in Mobile, they have the strength, and they prop me up when I need propping up. They call me down when I need calling down. They wish that I would be quiet sometime, which I'm not often. But I had just finished having a very, very beautiful 9th birthday party at my home group, which is the Serenity group. And there is a little serenity up there when we all practice the program and worry about the principles of it rather than the personalities, as was brought out tonight earlier. I'm just so grateful for all of you here, and I am so grateful to be here tonight. This is just the greatest thing that's happened to me. Thank you for being here, and thank you for letting me talk.
Thank you, Marie. Now, early this afternoon, well, I say early, about 5 o'clock this afternoon, really, a fellow, AA member, gave me a note to read at the meeting tonight, and I'd forgotten about it. And we have this note says that we have a very important person present tonight. Ray from Lafayette has almost 2 days, 1 day at a time. Let's give him a big hand there. Well, I guarantee you, Ray, this is where it's happening, right here. Now, next speaker I'd like to call on is this young lady from Michigan. Would you come up and speak for us, please? Yes. Now, I don't know this lady, but I know Michigan because I've worked up there a while, and their AA is almost as good as ours.
Hi, my name's Jerry, and I'm an alcoholic. I am also gratefully recovering from alcoholism and drug abuse, thanks to AA. I have to apply my AA program also to my drug problem. I didn't know that I was a drug addict until after I'd been in AA for quite a while. I haven't been to Louisiana before, but I like what I see. I've been to conventions in Michigan many times, and I love them. There's a lot of warmth, a lot of love, and that's what I need. I could identify with the not feeling love. And I got set up here tonight, and I didn't come for resentment. No? Well, my two friends say no. But that's all right. I needed to talk tonight. The last few months have been very trying for me. And in February of this year, my father-in-law, who introduced me to AA 4 years ago, committed suicide after 15 years of sobriety. But 10 years ago, he quit going to meetings. And after working several months on second shift and not going to meetings on a regular basis, my thinking was getting screwed up. And once again, I was tempted with drugs, you know, the street kind. And I had a lot of trying times to go through. So his committing suicide reassured me how important meetings were. So I got my back to meetings. And I went to midnight meetings, and they did help. Then God said, hey, Jerry, we're tired of you working. You need a rest. So GM laid me off. And, you know, I said I needed to get out of Flint. And two friends moving down to Texas gave me a lift down to Texas. And then we came here today. It's been a beautiful life for me. I've had to give up a lot, but it's been worth it. I have two beautiful sons who I had to give up after 2 years of sobriety. But they understood that it was either them that went or Mother went back to the bottle because she couldn't handle them and their life and hers. And they told me that it was okay. I talked to those boys this morning, and they said, Ma, how you doing? And I said, just great. My 15-year-old said, when I went to leave Monday to come down here, he says, Ma, you go and you have fun, and you have fun for me too. He says, I love you, Mom. My kids tell me on a regular basis, and I tell them on a regular basis, that I love you. That I didn't have before I came to AA. I didn't have much of anything except for hell. God didn't open the gates of heaven to let me in. He opened the gates of hell to let me out. Thanks to AA. It's given me a new life. I'm shaking from head to foot. And I don't know if it sounds like it in my voice, but it sounds like it to me. It's echoing back to me, and that's the way it sounds. I'm really grateful that you people are all here tonight. It's been a new experience for me. I'm striking out in new areas of my life, you know, and I've got a lot of growing up to do. I'm 4, and I got a 15-year-old son who will be 16 next month. So you can imagine how trying it is for a mother who's 4 years old mentally to raise 16 and 13-year-old kids. That's why I chose to give them up. They were on a level higher than I could handle. And they're into their own thing, and I had to accept that. After 18 months of being completely alone for the first time in my life, my sons come back home to live, and I couldn't handle it again. I kept them a month and a half, and I said, you go back to your father, and you try to make your life go with him, or you go to juvenile home, because I won't let you live with me anymore. I love you too much to sit around and watch you destroy yourself, and I know I can't help you. AA has helped me, and AA is helping my sons to realize that I'm not their doormat. I'm not a doormat in society today. I'm not a doormat for anyone. I'm a human being, and I'm just beginning to find out, thank you, gentlemen, that I do have rights. I have the right to live. I have the right to breathe. And I have the right to be my total person. But the only way I can do that is by working all 12 steps of the program. And I can't say enough for the 12 traditions. You know, I came in this program and I said, the hell with the traditions. All I need is the steps. I found out that, you know, being the how part of the program says honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. And I've had to do all of that. And I've had to take a lot of areas in my life that I've closed off. So I try today to keep an open mind. But it's not always easy. I try to be as honest as I'm capable of being, but I still lie a lot. I've been fortunate not to pick up a drink since I've come into AA. I can't say that about drugs. Doctors push drugs. I've known more pushers that are doctors, you know, with that title, than I know street pushers. And I knew a hell of a lot of street pushers, and I still know a hell of a lot of street pushers. The street pushers don't bother me with their drugs the way the doctors do. A year ago in January, the doctors put me in the hospital because I wanted to commit suicide because of their drugs. You know, and they kept pushing them on me and pushing them on me. And in my weak moments, when I wouldn't reach out for your help, and I wouldn't reach out to my sponsor, and I would retreat into my shell, I reached out to those doctors, and they gave me just what I wanted. But a year ago in January, when I told the doctor, either you get me in a hospital today, or I will try to commit suicide, he put me in the hospital and they doped me up again with pills. They call them tranquilizers. Yeah, they tranquilize you. I had blackouts so bad I had to write down every phone call that came in. I had to write down every phone call that I made going out. I had to write down the people's names that walked in my room because I couldn't tell you 5 minutes later what I'd just done or who had been there. They say tranquilizers tranquilize the nerves. They sure play a hell of a trick on the mind, too. I know. I've gone through it many times. Today I live totally without drugs. And I'm grateful because you people have told me enough about them and I've experienced enough about them that I don't need them. But it's only because I've got a God in my life who allows that temptation to come around, and you people to give me the encouragement to say, hey, Jerry, you really don't need them. You know, you might feel bad today, but if you keep taking those drugs, it's going to take you back where you used to be in the pills and the booze and all the rest. Now, if you want to go back to that hell, you can. But I don't want that hell. When I came into AA, I said sobriety's not enough for me. And I meant it. But I have to keep hearing that. I have to keep hearing people like Olga tonight saying, sobriety is just not enough. Put some action in your program, and you'll have a happy life. You might have problems like we all do. And I have my share. And I am my biggest problem. I really am. I kick myself too many times sometimes, too. But I've got so much more going for me today because of people like you. I've got two beautiful friends I wrote down here with. One's a Canadian and one's a Texan at heart who's finally made it to Texas, and he's finally moving here. And I'm going to miss him, but he'll never be away from me. We may be miles apart, but we've built a friendship, and that friendship will last as long as we do. I thank you all very much, and thank you.
Thank you. And I can assure you, your friends didn't set you up. And speaking of your friends, I'd like to call on the bearded one. Would you come up and speak for us, please?
I'm an alcoholic, and my name is Felix Whitewich. And I can say that because that's as good as anonymity. I don't think anybody can spell that. Anyway, I'm very happy to be here tonight, and I'm nervous. I was told not long after I came that when you're asked to do something, if you possibly can, you should do it. And if you stop being nervous when you're asked, that's the time to start to worry, because you think you have it together so well that things are apt to go wrong for you. But anyway, I'm from Canada, and I hear that you've had visitors here from Canada last year. So I don't want to break the tradition, so I thought we'd better come this year and see you. But I got down here, AA brought me down here with my friends, with Jerry and Leon. Leon and I are very close. One thing we've established between the two of us, neither one of us has had a brother, a natural brother, but we do today and have had done for almost 10 years. And I think I'm closer to this man than I would be if I had a natural-born brother. And right now, I think Jerry would just come up and give a little talk, and Leon and myself, we're going through a trying time where we're all hurting to some extent, and this is why we need each other so much. And the friendship that the three of us have established in the previous years is growing all the time. It's amazing what can happen when you want to use the program and use the people that are in it through friendships and love and understanding. This program is built on a foundation of faith. Faith's love means to live without fear. And I live without fear, but I'm scared right here, right now. I don't know why. I don't think I left my faith back there. I try to carry it with me. And I like to live without fear. Maybe I could tell you a little bit about myself. I was born in a small town way up in northern Ontario, and that's Eskimo country up around that area. But I never learned how to build an igloo. The problem with them is they melt in the summer, and you got to build a new one every year. So anyway, now the Eskimos have refrigerators up there too, and they come into the civil areas and buy their meat and what have you. But up in this area, it's mostly all pulp and paper. I see you have oil refinery here. It reminds me of the town that my mom and dad live in Ontario. They're the same type of a town as what you have here. I can identify with the odor that's in the air from the refineries. But anyway, up in this northern part of Ontario, there's a lot of loggers, and I noticed some logging trucks running up and down the highways in this area too. And I think when I was very young, I pictured myself as growing up to be a man someday, and I watched some of these lumberjacks and that coming into town, and I pictured myself as a man being a hard worker and a hard drinker, and still able to go out into the world and earn a living. And also, along with that, I could identify with Olga tonight, being very introverted, very shy. I was always the smallest guy in the group, the smallest guy in the class, the smallest guy wherever I went. And I always felt that I never fitted anywhere. I didn't like where I was, and I didn't like being what I was at that particular time. I got drunk when I was 4 or 5 years old. My parents told me this. I don't remember. And I almost died. I got up early in the morning before anybody and started drinking the leftovers that were left from the party the night before. But I can remember, as I got a little older, being of European extraction, usually when there was some festivities, there was always some sort of booze around, and for the children, when we sat down at this particular time, we all got a small glass of wine. And I can remember today very distinctly that some of the kids that didn't enjoy their wine and wouldn't drink it, I found I drank mine and I drank theirs too. And this was at a time of maybe 6, 7, 8 years of age. So I could already identify or relate back to a magnetism for alcohol at a very, very early age. I got drunk when I was 12 and 13 and 14. I made a spectacle of myself in these days with my parents there, and I was ashamed of it. And this is the way alcohol took me through my whole life. Some people call me a paradox type of alcoholic, because a lot of things that normally happen to most alcoholics didn't happen to me. When I came into AA, I thought my life was pretty well intact. I've worked at the same place for over 20 years. I maintained a job all this time. I bought and paid for a home. I have 2 children, a beautiful daughter and a beautiful son, and they're growing up now. And I done all these things, and eventually alcohol brought me to my knees physically, I thought, because my body couldn't take alcohol anymore. My liver was done, and the medical people eventually done a biopsy on my liver and told me that I wouldn't last another 3 months if I continued to drink the way I did, and that's over 10 years ago. So it's amazing what can happen. But the feelings that I had at the end of my drinking, I knew I was alcoholic. I knew I had a drinking problem. I wanted to do something about my alcoholism, but I didn't want to totally quit. I could quit drinking. I'd done it hundreds of times, but I couldn't stay quit. It's the same thing as smoking. I'm going to quit tomorrow, but tomorrow's never here. It's always today. And I have learned through AA that the only guarantee I have in life is right now. So if I really want to quit smoking, I have to do it now, and I'm not prepared to do it now. When I was in the hospital, I was all jaundice and hepatitis and everything, and I can remember asking one doctor, the last few years of my drinking, I knew I was dying. I could feel it. I could feel it physically. I was prepared. I was an old man in my early 30s. I was overdue for retirement, and I wanted to live off the fat of the land, but there wasn't enough for me to live off of, not the way I was drinking. And I can remember in the hospital, I'd asked one doctor, I said to him, I says, look, I know I'm dying, and he says, how much time do you give me? And he says, well, you might last 3 years. And the insanity of alcoholism to me at this particular time, when he told me this, I accepted that. And that was good enough for me. Another 3 years of drinking was fine. When I got out of that hospital, I was going to go back and drink again. But about an hour later, another doctor came in, and he was in charge of the floor up there, and I'd been in the hospital for about 3 weeks by this time, and this doctor had nothing to do with my case directly, but he was in charge of the floor. But he used to come in every day, sometimes several times a day, and he would talk to me. And this man befriended me. And for some reason, I trusted him. And when he came in, his name's Dr. Retznicker. Peter's his first name, and I was calling him by his first name when he was coming in. So when he came in this one morning, and I said to him, I says, Pete, I says, one of your colleagues was just in here and told me that I got about 3 years to live. And he says, well, Felix, he says, the way you've been going at it, he says, you won't last another 3 months. And I says, are you sure? And he said, yep. He says, I just read the lab report from your liver biopsy, and he says, they don't lie. Granted, I've had about 4 years of warning about my liver up until this time already, and I still wasn't prepared to give up my drinking. So Olga mentioned about not being able to scare an alcoholic into quitting drinking, and this was true in my case. And I believed this man when he told me that I wouldn't last 3 months because I trusted him. And by this time, I'd been in the hospital without any booze for 3 weeks on a little medication. So I had a little bit of clearness in my head to rationalize a little bit. I thought a lot at that particular time, but looking back on it today, I really didn't. Not in comparison to what I have today. Like the lady that was up here when we came in, I didn't realize how sick I was until I started getting well again. And I'm still getting well. I can still see changes in me, even reflecting back, 6 months or a year ago. I like to take an inventory of myself at least every 3 to 6 months, a good inventory, to see whether I'm progressing or regressing or standing still. But I asked Dr. Retznicker, I said, well, what's left for me? And I asked him if he could do anything for me, and he said no. I said, well, what's left for me? And he said, well, he says, if in the condition of your liver, he says, some of it is irreparable. He says, some of it will repair itself. And he says, fortunately, he said that if I abstained totally, and if I went to a doctor, like Jerry was saying, they like to push drugs on you. If I get sick and I go to a doctor and he wants to prescribe something for me, I have to tell him my condition, because some drugs are very severe on the liver. So they have to either take another course of action for my illness at the time or whatever, or give me something that's less severe. And this is easy to live with, believe me. I'd sooner live this way in my life today than I would knowing that I had cancer or something. I could remember my sponsor one day coming to me, and he said he found out he was diabetic, and he was very upset about it. And I know what put this in my mind. I know today, but it just came out almost spontaneously. And he says, "Aren't you fortunate?" And he says, "What do you mean fortunate?" He says, I can't be fortunate being a diabetic." And I says, "But you have two diseases that you can control," which is true. The disease of alcoholism is quite simple. All we got to do is stick together and do what we're asked to do or told to do, and use the big book as a guide. Try to live the 12 steps to the best of our ability. I try to. But I do. Somebody mentioned the third step here tonight. I believe it's the lady over here. That's the most beautiful thing that ever happened to me. I had difficulty in the beginning because after what I've just told you about the condition I was in when I came here, I knew I was alcoholic, and I didn't want to believe it. And I had a hell of a time accepting this thing when I first came in. And this went on for a good 4 or 5 months before I could accept this. And I only found out about 3 years ago why I had so much trouble accepting this fact. Even though I knew within myself I was alcoholic, I didn't want to believe it. But it took me this long in AA to see that there were some changes happening to me after coming here. Because when I came, I was ashamed of the fact that I was an alcoholic. I really was. And this is the reason that I found out that I didn't want to accept the fact that I was an alcoholic. But after 4 or 5 months coming, I realized that, I wasn't drinking anymore. Something was happening, and something was doing it. It wasn't me, because I can't, but we can. And I know I tried doing it on my own before, and it didn't work. I can remember in 1965, and I think at this particular time in 65, I went to the doctor, and I thought I tore all the muscles in my side here, and my liver was inflamed at this particular time, was aggravating all the muscles there. And this scared me, so I quit drinking for about 2 months. And believe me, the state I put myself in order not to drink for 2 months, I wouldn't want to live that way, because it was worse than drinking, really. I shut myself off from all the people I normally associated myself with. I went to work and came home. I played with the children until they went to bed, and that was the extent of my life. It was very lonely. It was very torturous. I was all tore up inside. I was terrified. I was terrified when I came to this program. I wasn't scared. I was terrified of myself and everything in my whole life. But I put myself in my own cell at this time. And the torture of it was I had nobody to talk to, nobody to associate with, nobody to share my daily living, my daily problems, my daily experiences with. I just cut myself off from everybody and everything. And what had happened at this time was that amazing time usually comes around Christmas, And we were over at my ex-in-laws, and my father-in-law at the time, he was a good drinking buddy of mine. We drank quite a bit together. And my folks was there too, and my ex-wife's family was there. The whole family was there. And I was sipping on a Coke. And by this time, I graduated from beer to hard stuff. I loved rye. A good drink was a water glass full of rye whiskey. I don't know whether, I guess you can get it here. Your drink is mostly bourbon, I think. But rye whiskey was my favorite drink. And he was insisting that I had to have a drink because it was Christmas time, and I was proud of the fact that I hadn't drank for a couple of months. But I didn't like what I was going through. I was feeling a little bit better physically, but mentally, boy, I'm telling you, I was really spread around. And he kept on insisting, and I kept on refusing, and I told him, I says, I've quit, and I'm never going to drink again. And then he mentioned the fact that both families were there, and we might not be together this way again for some time to come. Oh, pardon me. What's the time limit on this? Go ahead. So he kept on insisting that I should have a drink because it was a special occasion. Both families was there, and then this alcoholic mind of mine started playing tricks on me. You know, I've seen people nurse a drink a whole evening and get away with it because they didn't have a drinking problem and they weren't addicted to alcohol. So in my mind, I thought, well, this is what I'll do. I'll have a drink and I'll nurse it for the rest of the time I'm there. And then I thought, well, I was primarily a rye drinker. If I asked for a beer, that would last longer, and the beer would have about as much effect on me as that Coke I was drinking. So I asked for a beer, and he brought me a beer. And it was good. I really nursed that thing, you know, very carefully. I was sipping at it, you know, very slowly and putting it down and talking, and about 20 minutes later, it was all gone. And nothing drastic happened, you know. There was no great reaction or anything. It tasted good. I hadn't had one for a long time, you know, and it felt good. And I thought, well, that didn't do anything too much. I might as well have another one. So I asked for another one, and I was given another one, and this one went down in about 5 minutes. I thought, well, now I might as well have a shot of rye, and I had a shot of rye. And that first beer, that first drink, I drank every day for the next 5 years, from 1965 until February 24th, 1970. It gave me another 5 years of living hell, real living hell. I went through another 5 years of hells, horrors, hardship, heartache, all the things that I didn't like in life. I had them all. I brought them all in here, you know. And it took me a while after I come in here to understand you people. I had to understand you people so I can understand myself, because I didn't know myself. I didn't like myself. And this is another great gift I've got from Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, it introduced me to myself to a point now that I can live with myself. I can enjoy my own company today. I really can. And I'm amazed. I can spend a whole weekend in my apartment and not even go out and not regret it. One time I was still running sober, running all over the place. I thought I was just, you know, doing a good job in AA and running around 12-stepping and visiting people and all these things. But really, I took a good inventory one time, and I just found that I was still running. I was running without drinking. And I thought I was sober. Maybe I was to some degree, but this is part of my sickness, my illness, and the disease of alcoholism is still there. But I've stopped running today. I enjoy to take my time and go someplace if I want to. Like, you know, I enjoy people today. I can enjoy people much more today than I ever did before because I can enjoy my own company, you know. I have a God of my understanding that's with me all the time, you know. I'm a loner at heart, I guess, or maybe not by choice, but because that's the way my life is today, and I usually travel by myself. But this trip was a good trip. It's more miles than I've ever traveled in all my life, not only since coming to AA, but I had the company of Leon and Jerry and Leon's son, and it was we had some trying times coming, you know, and we learned a lot. And this answering service is an amazing thing, you know. Leon's an independent trucker, and I was driving a pickup with a camper on the back, and we got separated. So you call answering service, you know. And then he calls in, and he finds out where I'm at, and then he comes and meets me. You know, that answering service works not only for the alcoholic that's still out there practicing. It works for us ones that are sober that are having problems too, you know. and I think it's there to be used. But I've done similar things with the answering service before when I'm in strange places, and it's very helpful. But I don't regret coming to Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't want to take up too much time because there's a lot of people out there that probably would like to come up and share. And I'm a good listener today, too. I like to listen, and I run off at the mouth. I'm a good talker. They call me a compulsive talker. And at work, they call me the clown at Somerville's out there. That's a board converting plant I work at. And many people tell me I'm crazy, you know. And I love it. I used to drink to be crazy one time, and I don't have to today. And I tell them, sure, I'm crazy, and I love being crazy, but I'll tell you one thing, I'm not stupid like I used to be. You know, I'd rather be crazy than stupid if I have a choice, and I have a choice today. I have a choice of whether I want to drink if I can. If I don't want to drink, I don't have to. And today I don't have to. I don't have to. You know, it's beautiful. It's beautiful not to have to get up like Olga was saying. I have to get up. And I can identify there. I never drank on a job. This was and I used to enjoy to go to work because I had to go to work to support my drinking problem. And I had to go to work to give myself a rest from my drinking. When we had a 3-day weekend, by the time Tuesday came around, boy, I'm telling you, I was death-warmed over because my drinking started on Thursday. I was a daily drinker. Bowling night was Thursday, and payday was Thursday, and I cashed my check, got my booze in, went bowling. I could buy booze up at the bowling alley there, too. And then Friday, I managed to get into work. Sometimes I had a little problem wandering around the place. But the people I worked under, they had drinking problems, too, so they didn't bother me too much. This was one fortunate thing. And then Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. You know, I never hardly got out of the living room, let alone out in the yard or down the street or anywhere. You know, it's not that I didn't want to. I was scared to. Once I started drinking, I'm telling you, I was terrified of everything. Phone, doors, grass, street, buses, you know. It's a hell of a way to live. And I have to force myself to go into work. And I go in deathly sick, and I always blamed it on the chicken I had the night before, or some salad I ate, or I smoked too much, or that mix they use is terrible stuff. You know, you shouldn't use it. It just spoils the booze and it makes you sick. But amazingly enough, in the past 10 years, I used to have the flu all the time. You know, I always had the flu all the time. Anything that went around, I got it. And then, you know, one of our big breweries up there is Labatt's, and I had the Labatt's flu and the Walker's flu. You know, that's the distilleries, and these are the flus I had. So, in the past 10 years, I've had the flu legitimately once. You know, this program cures many things, and I can think a little bit today. You know, I've been given a lot of things. I mentioned my 2 kids, and I liked what Olga said about it and what Jerry, you know. I've established a relationship with my children that I always wanted to have when they were very small, and I have that today. My son and my daughter are 2 of my very best friends. My son is my buddy, you know. I always wanted to drive a race car when I was younger, now, and he's a racing buff. He dragsters, and he's got a mind like a computer. And he's building the car. Now, you don't want to drive it. He wants a partner with the car, and he's tried 3 other guys, and they were going to help him build it and drive it. So they all fell through on their deal. So now I'm making parts, special parts that he's designed for the car, and he doesn't want to drive it. So guess who's going to drive it? You know? I told my father this, and he says, "Hey, you're still insane." I said, "No, I'm just crazy." You know? And I like it that way. But I wanted to mention my 2 kids. I love them very dearly, and they're not only my son and my daughter, but they're 2 of my very best friends. My son is one of my best buddies today, you know. They come to me with just about anything, you know. If they sneeze wrong, they'll come and talk to me about it. They know what goes on in my life, and I know what goes on in their life. We don't have to worry about one another because we know where the 3 of us are at with one another all the time. We've established an open, honest, truthful, loving communication between us, and I hope I will have it with them the rest of my life. And I learned this through Alcoholics Anonymous, you know. I learned this through Alcoholics Anonymous, and I like to share that with you. It's the most beautiful thing that ever happened to me in my life. I'm not ashamed of being an alcoholic today, because I'm not the type of person I used to be when I was a practicing alcoholic. And I don't know what else to say. I'm still nervous, and I'd like to get down and sit down and listen for a while. So thank you for coming, and thank you for having me. I'm in a strange city and in a foreign country. To me it is. But I know I'm with my friends. You're all brothers and sisters. I love you very dearly, and I know there's lots of love out there for me, too. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Felix. We're glad you're here with us. We agreed this thing would go about an hour and 15 minutes, and according to my watch, we've got about 10 minutes here. Ted G. from Lafayette, would you come up and talk to us?
I am Ted, and I am an alcoholic. I love this city of Lake Charles, and I don't know, it's something special to me. I don't know, I come here today, we got everybody here. We got people from Texas and Canucks from Canada, and Lord knows when I drank, I was dying and crying in it, and I come to the program of Alcoholics Anonymous to laugh and to live. And I don't have to go in here and tell you everything in 10 minutes because I can't do that. But, I can tell you this much. The program of Alcoholics Anonymous saved my life. And I'm standing up here and I'm nervous as hell, but a guy told me, he says, goddamn it, be nervous. But I don't need a drink to get my nerves straight. That's all I need is y'all. I came in the program of Alcoholics in 1961. You see what I said? I came in. I didn't stay in. I made 30 days, pick up 30-day trip, and told everybody, now I know what it's all about. Now I can handle it. And I sure did. But in that brief 30-day period in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, I knew there was something there in that room that I wanted. But for almost 20 years, I wasn't ready to pay the price. I wasn't ready to give up. So I bounced around this program for close to 18 years before I finally got a handle on it. I got a handle on it for today, and that's all, just today. The guy asked me nice, how long you been sober? I said, today. That's all. First of all, it ain't none of his damn business. But that's all I got today. And when I first started coming around here, and for 18 years, if I got 30 days sobriety, I'd have a chalk mark on that calendar. If I weren't keeping them, Doc was keeping them. And put the X mark down for every day I was sober. Whoopee! And God level, I heard her talk tonight about a running drunk. There ain't nobody was faster than me. I left Doc 22 times in 9 years. But there's one thing about it. If Dot drank like I did, she wouldn't have got the second time, believe me. I'd thrown her out a long time ago. But she stayed with me, And I found out one very, very important thing about this program. And if there's any Al-Anons here tonight, which I'm sure there are, and you're married to an alcoholic spouse, you got to keep one thing in mind. You both got to grow. And you both have the right to the program. And when I learned to stop working Dot's program, I got sober. Ain't that funny? Now, I can't sit here and I tell you, I made a whole bunch of hospitals. I made a whole bunch of jails. And, I met a guy I haven't seen in 8 years, and he said, my God, you look a hell of a lot better than I seen you last time. The last time he seen me, I was in the Thibodeau jailhouse with my head split open drunk. That's something. 8 years. But I met him here tonight. He's in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. He's sober. Ain't that something? I knew you had something that I wanted. I didn't know how to go about getting it. And I didn't want to pay the price for it. And the price was total deflation. The whole world doesn't revolve around me. You know, I was just like any other drunk that came into the program. The whole world was rotten to me all my life. I couldn't have things my own way all my life. So I drank. I drank at people, places, and things until somebody told me one day, people, places, and things are nouns. And they can't hurt you. You don't have to get drunk at them. I did that. And how you all tolerated me in this program. My God, I bounced from New Hampshire to Okinawa to Japan. I always came back. I always came back, you know. He all told me to come back, and when he told me to come back, he didn't know what you were letting yourself into. And my friend Fred, he always says this. He says, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And I say, no, but don't take the bucket away. He might get thirsty. And that's what you all did to me. You didn't take the bucket away. You left it there. And when I wanted it, it was still there. It was such a beautiful thing. My God, I've heard about slips and all that. I had to learn this program, and I truly believe tonight that alcoholism is a disease. And if I am to believe this like any other disease, I must also believe there can be relapses. And like any other disease, there has to be a program of recovery. I chose the program of Alcoholics Anonymous for one very simple reason. There just ain't no other. And I also know this, that relapses don't happen if the principles of the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous are followed and applied to a daily life. It just don't happen. It's a wonderful life today. I went over to work this morning and picked up my paycheck. I've been picking them up pretty regularly. And I'm pretty proud of that. And I went into the office and the boss told me, he says, and I work nights now. I got a swing shift. I don't like that too well, but that's all right too. He said, we got this to do tonight, and that to do tonight, and this to do tonight, and that to do tonight. And I said, you got it all to your own, boy. I said, I'm going to Lake Charles Convention. I'll see you later. And that's where it's at. That's where it's at. This is my life. It's the only life I got. I talked to a fellow in Minnesota the other night. He was a counselor at Guest House. Now, he used to be my counselor at the VA Hospital, Manchester, New Hampshire. And God love him. I love him so dearly. And after about 6 years, we finally located this guy. I sat down one night and could make 12 phone calls and couldn't locate him. But I finally got a hold of him. And he told me, he said, K-I-S-S. And that means keep it simple, stupid. And he told me that when I left New Hampshire. Keep it simple, stupid. And I came down here to this metropolis, I didn't keep it so simple. So I had to go through all the agony. And I had to go through all the heartache. And all the turmoil. But I can assure you of this tonight, and when I say this, I don't regret any damn bit of it. With the exception of one fact, I wish I hadn't hurt so many of those that love me. But I needed all the hurt, all the turmoil, all the sickness, and all the horrors to get where I'm at tonight. I love you all so very, very dearly. And I thank you very, very much, and we're going to have one hell of a convention. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted, and thank you to all the other previous speakers. We said it'd be an hour and 15 minutes, and that's about that time, and what you got there. There'll be a meeting in the morning at 9 o'clock right here. They'll show this film, An Inside View, which they show this afternoon for those. Then they'll have a 10 o'clock meeting here in the morning. Now, for those of you that will, let's stand and be dismissed with the Lord's Prayer.